Good evening and welcome to the December meeting of Corangamite Shire Council. Welcome to councillors and officers joining us here this evening at the Clara Centre, and also welcome to those who at home who may be watching this evening. Can I start with the prayer, please, councillors? We ask for guidance and blessing on this council. May the true needs and well-being of our communities be our concern. Help us who serve as leaders to remember that all our decisions are made in the best interests of the people, culture and the environment of the Corangamite Shire. Amen. The acknowledgement of country. We acknowledge the traditional owners of the land around Corangamite Shire, the Eastern Maar and Wadawurrung people. We pay our respects to all Aboriginal elders and peoples past and present. Mr Mason, do we have... before I start, I will introduce the team that are joining us this evening. We have Councillor Jamie Vogels to my left, Councillor Joe Beard, Councillor Geraldine Kennedy, Councillor Kate Macon, Councillor Laurie Hickey and Councillor Nick Cole. CEO is Andrew Mason, and we're joined with our Senior Officers Group, David Ray, Director of Corporate and Community Services. My apologies, Mr Ray. Ms Brooke Love, Director of Works and Services, and Ms Justine Linley, Director of Sustainable Development. We also have Mr Aaron Moyne, Manager of Planning and Building, and Mr John Kelly, the Manager of Assets Planning. So, Mr Mason, do we have any apologies this evening?
Madam Mayor, we've got no apologies for tonight's meeting.
Do we have any declarations of conflict of interest?
I have one declaration of conflict of interest from Councillor Macon in relation to item 9.7, the quick response grants.
Thank you, Mr Mason. And before we begin our meeting this evening, I'd just like to acknowledge the passing of former councillor Jim O'Brien of Terang. Jim passed away over the weekend. He served Corangamite Shire on several terms, from 1999 to 2004, and again from 2006 to 2008. Jim was a strong advocate for the people of Terang and was passionate about his role of councillor, particularly around getting natural gas to Terang, and also his desire to have as many footpaths built in Terang as he possibly could. He did an amazing job. Jim's other passion was his family, and we heard a lot about all his children, and there was a few of them, and his grandchildren he was incredibly proud of. So certainly pass our condolences to Jim's family on his passing. Would someone like to move a condolence motion for Councillor Ryan? Thank you, Councillor Hickey. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Canady. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That motion's passed. Councillor, confirmation of minutes. The minutes have been circulated and there's a recommendation that they be confirmed. Can someone move those, please? Councillor Cole, thank you. Seconded. Councillor Macon, thank you. Any questions or comments on the minutes? All those in favour? Carried. Item 7 on committee reports. 7.1 is the Audit and Risk Committee and Independent Member reappointment. Mr Ray, would you like to address this item, please?
Thanks, Mayor, and through you, as you've introduced, the report recommends the appointment of an independent committee member. That is Mr Colin Hayman. Council's Audit and Risk Committee, established in August 2020, also included the adoption of a charter, and that charter allows appointments by council only. And the charter itself also allows council to reappoint existing members subject to satisfactory performance without having to publicly advertise for expressions of interest. An assessment of Mr Hayman's past performance has been undertaken in conjunction with committee members, and the committee strongly supports Mr Hayman's reappointment given his strong return in terms of his assessment. He's considered to have the necessary skills and experience to serve as an ongoing independent member, the appropriate qualifications and competencies, particularly in financial management and local government. The recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Mr Ray. Councillors, recommendation. Someone like to move the reappointment of Mr Hayman, who is an excellent independent member on our Audit and Risk. Councillor Hickey, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Canady. Councillor Hickey, do you want to add to the comments?
Thank you, Mayor. The Risk and Audit Committee, of which Councillor Canady and I, myself, are members, overwhelmingly agree that Mr Hayman's performance has been most satisfactory, and we unanimously support the reappointment for the final term. Colin's a member of a resident of the Corangamite Shire, and his ongoing mentorship, particularly to our newer council members, has been very valued, and we certainly ask that the motion be supported.
Thank you, Councillor Hickey. Councillor Canady.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, Mr Hayman brings a really high level of experience and professionalism and knowledge to the Audit and Risk Committee. He's a truly valuable member on that committee, and I think we're extremely lucky to have his services. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Canady. Nothing further, councillors? All those in favour? It's carried. Item 8, planning reports. Item 8.1 is planning permit application PP 2021-148, the use and development of land for an extractive industry at Scoria Quarry, and I ask Ms Jennifer Camp, Planning Officer, to introduce this item. Sorry, Mr Morn, you're going to be doing it. I beg your pardon. I'll hand over to you.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor, I present Council with this report for planning permit application PP 2021-148. The application seeks planning approval to establish a scoria quarry on land associated with an existing dairy farm, which has an overall area of 240 hectares approximately. The proposed quarry will have a total area of 5 hectares and is proposed to comply with the Code of Practice for small quarries. The quarry will be extracted progressively, and overall output is expected to be between 5,000 and 10,000 cubic metres per annum. The quarry will have a maximum depth of 5 metres and no blasting is proposed. The expected lifespan of the quarry is approximately 5 years, and the land will be rehabilitated progressively to return its use back to agriculture. Heavy vehicle access is proposed to be provided from Knackery Road through an upgraded internal access track, with upgrades required at the site access intersection. Notice of the application has been given, and councillors received two objections, which raise issues including visual amenity impact, quarry size, traffic impacts, previous works on site, and application information quality. Issues raised by objections have been addressed within the planning report. Planning assessment of the application finds that the proposal should be supported. The application provides an acceptable response to the municipal planning strategy and planning policy framework, which seeks to support resource extraction whilst protecting productive agricultural land. The siting and design of the quarry complies with the Code of Practice for Small Quarries, which establishes specific design and operational conditions and will not have an adverse impact on the surrounding landscape or neighbouring agricultural properties. The quarry will provide access to a material for local farms to support agricultural activities and improvements. Specific conditions have been included in the recommendation to address key issues including road and traffic management, requiring upgrade works and local road monitoring to be undertaken by the developer before the quarry starts. The recommendation is provided before you to issue a notice of decision to grant a permit.
Thank you, Mr Moyne. Councillors, his recommendation there. Someone like to move that recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Vogels. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Canady, thank you. Councillor Vogels.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. Happy to accept the officer's recommendation and issue a decision to grant the permit. Farmers don't operate without gravel. We don't fix the roads without gravel. You can't build wind towers without gravel. If the requirements and recommended practices of the code are met, we should be actively encouraging and supporting more quarrying of gravel within our shire. The problem is not lack of gravel in the ground, but the hoops and hurdles and the expense imposed by the state government. Maybe we should have a discussion next year about how we can activate more gravel pits within our shire, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Vogels. Councillor Canady.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This particular application requires considered balance between protection of agricultural land and reasonable use of land for extraction. In this case, 5 hectares of land is proposed for a small-scale scoria extraction and is internally located on the property. The quarried area can be progressively rehabilitated to agricultural use in a short turnaround period. Councillors were shown a successful example of such rehabilitation somewhere on the property that the proposal is for. The impact to visual amenity during the operations will be of a low degree, being partially screened by trees and located a good distance from the public roadways and homes. We do need some extraction industry in the Shire. There is demand for quarry materials to supply building works and road repairs. This particular location is well suited to this purpose. Firstly, having suitable material available. The location is not a significant landscape area. The activity will have very low visual impact and will not constrain the activities of the neighbours. The rehabilitated site will be compatible with the surrounding landscape and can be expected to leave low discernible visual alteration to the topography of the area. The activity will operate under the Code of Practice for Small Quarries for a 3-month period in each year of operation, which is expected to be about 5 years. The key points to me are that there should be no adverse impacts on agricultural use in the area, and the rehabilitated quarry site will leave low discernible change to the general topography and character of the area. So I'm more than happy to support the recommendation before us.
Thank you, Councillor Canady. Councillors, is there any other comments to this item? Councillor Beard.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor, and look, I concur with both my councillors sitting next to me, and I appreciate the passion that Councillor Vogels has when it comes to anything to do with agriculture and farming, and I can appreciate your sentiments there. I guess when it comes to anything that we do, our priority is always around the protection of agriculture, and we can't ever shy away from that, and so the conditions that are put in place in this recommendation are certainly an assurity to that. And then obviously that's just one step in this process of this application. Then obviously it has to go to get a Code of Practice for Small Quarries and then the conditions of the Works Authority by Earth Resources, which is going to be highly regulated, not only by us but also by them. So to the applicants, we appreciate what is going to be coming in the future and your ability to have such a business on your property. But it is highly regulated for a reason, and I appreciate the amount of work that's gone into this application to make sure that everything is done in the right way. And then hopefully, all going well, which I'm sure it will, then that's a good leeway into other people potentially doing the same thing. But there's conditions there for a reason, and I'm comfortable with what the planning officers have come to us, and I thank our planning department for those. I'm comfortable with those. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. Anything further? Councillor Hickey.
Thanks, Mayor. This is a decision that comes extraction versus the undisturbed soil, and there's definitely a need for this sort of quarry material within the farming sector. There's absolutely no doubt about that, and it comes at the cost of disturbing the topsoil. However, I'm confident with the 13 conditions and the sub-clauses that have been attached to this permit. I'm confident that the land will be restored to a better, useful agricultural land, and I'm comfortable to support this recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Hickey. Nothing further, councillors, to vote? All in favour? Motion's carried. Item 8.2, Planning Scheme Amendment C55 CORA, Council Adoption 373 Old Geelong Road, Camperdown. Mr Moyne, can you introduce this item, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you I present Council with this report on the Planning Scheme Amendment C55. The amendment seeks to rezone a 9.4 hectare parcel of land on Old Geelong Road from farming zone to industrial 1 zone, adjoining existing industrial land currently being developed. Public exhibition of the amendment has been undertaken in accordance with the Planning Environment Act. Council has received 3 submissions with no requested changes or issues raised for the amendment. The next step for the amendment is to submit it to DELT for final review before ministerial approval. The amendment will support future industrial development of the land, aligning with Council's strategic objective to enable industry and business growth, along with designation of the industrial area as the Camperdown production precinct. The recommendation is provided before you.
Thank you, Mr Moyne. Councillors, recommendation, so I'd like to move that recommendation. Councillor Macon, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Cole, sorry, didn't see you there. Councillor Macon.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. Council is aware of the lack of available industrial land across the Shire, which is serviced and developed ready. Camperdown Dairy are currently developing a new milk processing facility adjoining the site, and this rezoning request provides a further opportunity for industrial land provision to support future development of the Camperdown production precinct. This may involve the relocation of existing or attracting of new businesses to the Shire, along with subsequent economic benefits and job opportunities. The amendment will expand the industrial precinct north of Camperdown within an area located away from the township, residential and sensitive land uses, minimising development and anonymity constraints. The nearest dwelling are located beyond 500 metres to the east and the west of the site, providing adequate separation distances. Policy direction within the Corangamite Shire planning scheme supports a proposal to rezone the land and provide further industrial land supply. Local policies specifically seeks to support employment opportunity and industrial linked to with the agriculture sector. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Macon. Councillor Cole.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Macon summed it up pretty well. But I think one of the big wins in this is actually getting the industrial hub going in the Shire, and also where it's located, there won't be as many trucks coming through town, hopefully, and it'll keep a lot of them away from the main centre of the town, which will be helping everyone a lot. So I have no trouble in supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cole. Any further councillors? Councillor Canady.
I think it's really important that we facilitate adequate supply of industrial land near Camperdown, and to create opportunities for industry that's already there, and for new investment, development and jobs. In this case, we have an ideal situation where we're seeking to provide an extension to an existing industrial precinct, which is well located in relation to the Camperdown Township, and that area has already been identified for industrial development within the Camperdown Township structure plan. The area is already serviced with the essential utilities and is strategic in relation to supply of industrial zoned land in Corangamite. This is supporting industry linked with our valuable agricultural sector and will provide positive economic and development outcomes. I think it's, I hope, we are successful in achieving this rezoning. I think it's going to be a real boon for Camperdown.
Thank you, Councillor Canady. Is there any further councillors? Councillor Beard.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I'd just like to acknowledge that this is great to see a developer coming along and actually instigating this rezoning for the betterment of the community, and if not the actual Shire as a whole. I think it'd be great if we could have more of these projects get up across our other towns as well, but to actually have it driven by landowners is great, and something that council are great at facilitating and being part of the process. And this is just one step to helping them achieve that. But it's great, and we need to acknowledge that we appreciate landowners coming up with these proposals, because it is appreciated.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. Councillors, if there's no further comments. All those in favour? It's carried. On to officers' reports, and item 9.1 are the rates and charges collection and hardship policy. Mr. Ray.
Thanks, Mayor. Through you, the report recommends Council adopts a revised rates and charges and hardship collection policy. The policy has been reviewed to incorporate recent recommendations from the Ombudsman's review into how local councils respond to ratepayers in financial hardship. And so the policy has been updated to include the ability of council to waive rates subject to specific conditions, and that effectively aligns the policy with the 1989 Local Government Act. The policy has also been updated with respect to collection processes, and we'd expect a future review of the policy once the government implements the findings of the recommendations into rating within local government Victoria. So the recommendation is to adopt the policy dated December 2021 and revoke the previous policy dated September 2018.
Thank you, Mr. Ray. Councillors, somebody prepared to move new policy? Councillor Vogels. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hickey. Councillor Vogels.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think it's fairly procedural, but I think hardship is when someone wants to pay but has financial difficulties. And where this is the case, council does and should be flexible in its attempts to reach a mutually agreeable outcome. So I think it's a good policy, even though it's fairly procedural. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Vogels. Councillor Hickey.
Thanks, Mayor. There's not much change really to the previous policy, but it is important that we as a community do look after those who are finding times hard, and this covers some of those people. So thanks.
Thank you, and I'd certainly encourage anyone who is suffering financial hardship, please come in and talk to our rate collector, and we can organise payment plans. We're, really keen to help people out who are struggling. Is there any further, councillors? All those in favour? Carried. Item 9.2, the Council Procurement Policy, December 2021. Mr. Ray.
Thanks, Mayor. Through you, the Local Government Act 2020 requires Council to adopt a complying procurement policy by 31 December, so a few days away. It's a requirement following the introduction of the new Local Government Act early last year. The new arrangements provide greater flexibility for councils in regards to procurement, whilst placing on councils collaborative procurement obligations. The proposed policy for adoption is attached to the report, and it's been based on a model made available by Local Government Victoria. Just to highlight some of those major changes to the current existing policy are as follows. The contract value above which council must invite a tender is proposed to be set at $250,000. There's a range of exemptions that have been expanded that would exempt council from having to undertake a public tender. The policy also describes the criteria to be used when evaluating proposed contracts for the purposes of value for money. The policy also describes how council will seek to collaborate with other councils and public bodies in the procurement of goods and services. That's a key requirement under the new Act. Governance arrangements have been strengthened with the introduction of a probity advisor required for complex projects, high-risk projects, or for projects of a value of $3 million or above. And I think the other efficiency gain is in regards to delegations, that the CEO will maintain the table of delegations as opposed to seeking council approval of those changes. The policy is proposed for adoption and the recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Mr Ray. Councillors, there's recommendation before you. Someone like to move that recommendation? Councillor Beard, do I have a seconder? Councillor Hickey? Councillor Beard.
I knew I'd get stuck having to talk on this one, but anyway, we love the procurement policy. Looking back at our previous procurement policy, we had a pretty good one anyway. So I think we're one council when it came to having to adhere to the Local Government Act and the criterion and making sure that we had everything in that policy. I think we've done pretty well. There's obviously some extensions and a few changes, but it being procedural, it's still important to note, especially to our ratepayers, that there's a process in which council have to abide by when it comes to spending public money, and that we don't take anything for granted, and that it's really stringent, and it's not only us, it's within the whole sector. So this policy does outline it's very fine, the do's and the don'ts, and it does in some regard just strengthen what was already occurring with Corangamite Shire. I have to admit it's going to be nice to see that the officer delegations will now be obviously under the guard of the CEO. We would usually have that come to us before a council meeting, which was always one way of us knowing if there was a new staff member too, because we'd obviously get them put on the delegation list. But that's just one thing that is going to make life a lot easier for the organisation when things can be done that little bit quicker. But certainly a very important policy to have, and I hope that our ratepayers can see that, as I said, the organisation is doing everything they can with the public money that they entrust us with. So, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. And I think you'll probably be pleased to note that we only review this policy once every 4 years from now on in, rather than every year that we've been doing now for a number of years. Councillor Hickey, did you have something to add?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. No, I'd just simply add that this is a very specific policy. It's offering greater flexibility right across the conduction of the processes. It will make contract value a lot more efficient and in the speed of awarding contracts. And by delegating authority, I think that in italics and in brackets means cutting some red tape. So if we can do that in order to speed up the process, I think it's a very, very good thing, and I'm very happy to second this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Hickey. Councillors, is there anything further? All those in favour? Carried. Item 9.3 is the complaints handling policy, and I'll ask Ms Lingley to introduce this item, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report proposes the adoption of a revised complaint handling policy for Council, reflecting Council's commitment to providing the highest level of customer service, encouraging feedback and improvement. Due to this commitment and in line with recommendations from the Victorian Ombudsman, Council has reviewed its complaint handling policy and only proposes some minor updates. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Ms Lingley. Councillors? Recommendation to revoke the existing complaints handling policy and adopt the updated one. Someone like to move that? Councillor Canady. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Macon, thank you. Councillor Canady.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Again, this is largely procedural. The appropriate updates have had to be made, but we hope we don't receive too many complaints. But of course, residents do have reason to make them at times. And obviously it's important to manage those complaints in as fair a way as possible, and to be very clear about the proper procedure for handling complaints. So this policy obviously covers in some detail how complaints should be managed, and of course it aims to provide a high level of service to our residents, which is always very important to us. I actually just like the section we have in it that says learning from complaints. We do value feedback from the community and aim to improve our services based on that feedback, and it just helps us to improve on our procedures every time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Canady. Councillor Macon.
No, I've got nothing further to add. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, anybody else? Put it to a vote, all in favour? It's carried. Item 9.4 is the Cobden Structure Plan Project Overview. Mr Moyne, can you introduce this item, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you, I present Council with this report to provide an update and project overview of the upcoming Cobden Structure Plan. Project planning has been finalised and the project will formally commence in January 2022 with the structure plan to be delivered for Council adoption in October 2022 before proceeding with a planning scheme amendment. The structure plan is a key planning project for Cobden and will provide a long-term planning framework to support the future growth and development of the town over a minimum 15-year horizon. The structure plan will provide Council and the community with a vision and strategic direction for Cobden. Building upon work undertaken through the residential land review recently, a key component of the structure plan will be to plan for and to seek to unlock future market-ready land for housing and residential development, which is a current issue for the town itself and across the Shire. The project will also explore economic development, business attraction and investment opportunities, particularly associated with industry and processing. This report outlines the project objectives and scope, along with the project timeline and key dates for public engagement and consultation in both April and July 2022. A project working group will be established to support project planning and delivery, involving Councillor Joe Beard as the ward councillor and local business and community representatives. This group will be finalised in January 2022. Completion of a planning review and preparation of a structure plan for Cobden is timely and an important opportunity for the town. The recommendation is provided before you to note the report and endorse the composition of the project working group.
Thank you, Mr Moyne. Councillors, you have a recommendation there. Someone like to move it? Councillor Beard, subject very close to your heart, I'm not surprised. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Macon. Councillor Beard.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. Look, we're all up and about for this one. This is going to be a great project. And look, in all seriousness, we've identified through the council plan and feedback from our communities, if anything we've learnt back from COVID, I guess the silver lining is that we've got a population that's wanting to relocate to our smaller, safer rural regional towns, and we need to be able to accommodate them through land development. So I think Cobden, being one of the first towns came off the rank to actually do the structure plan or review the structure plan and look at the rezoning where it's required, and I guess the assurity of states having safety over some of our assets too. Like if I talk about Cobden Airstrip for one, we've done the master plan there, but we need to assure that the protection of that site is well into the future. So I am excited about this project, and I want to thank obviously Mr Moyne for his work in getting it to this point, because clearly I've been annoying him for a long time about it, and I thank Council for their support in funding this process. But I think it'll be one step closer to enabling Cobden to become bigger and if not better than what it already is. But we do know for sure that there's an issue with land supply, and certainly knowing that there's different types of land that people are actually wanting. This is one part of that process that will enable us to open and unlock some of the land that is actually already there. It's important to note too that throughout this process we engage with various stakeholders, not only at community level but also the services when it comes to utilities like One on Water, Powercore and those sort of people. It's really important that when we do look at opening up land and where land availability is, that we've got to be able to have the services that can service those properties. So it's going to be a big project next year. We're going to hit the ground running, Mr Moyne, I think January, but probably more so in March when the community group definitely get up and going. But yeah, very excited and thank everyone for their support.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. Councillor Macon.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor, but I have nothing further to say because Councillor Beard took all my notes, so I'm sorry.
She does have a habit of doing that.
I just concur with everything Councillor Beard said, so thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And Mr Moyne, there is structure plan work coming for other towns as well following Cobden. Yep.
Yes.
Councillors, is there anything further on this item? All in favour? Carried. Item 9.5 is contract 2022017, consultancy services for the development and execution of a procurement strategy, integrated software platform. Mr Ray, would you like to introduce this item, please?
Thanks, Mayor. Through you, as you've introduced, it's a contract to engage the services of a commercial consultancy to allow us to undertake a procurement process to secure the services of a technology vendor in regards to a previously approved program under the Rural Council's Transformation Program. That program is a shared service arrangement between Corangamite Shire as lead council, Moyne Shire and Warrnambool City, who were successful in securing a state government grant of $4.5 million in June 2019. Since that time, the councils have been collaboratively working together, and over the last 12 months or pre-February of this year, the impact of COVID effectively put the project in hibernation for the best part of 2020. Council received notification early 2021 that approval had been received to proceed with the planning and preparation phase of the project, and to assist with that phase, Council is seeking to engage on behalf of Warrnambool and Moyne Shire the services of a suitably qualified commercial consultant. The procurement process has been undertaken, and in regards to the scope of works required, a preferred vendor has been chosen, and that is Information Professionals Group. The evaluation panel is strongly supporting that appointment, as is recommended in the report. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Ray. Councillors, there's a recommendation there on page 174. Someone like to move that recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Vogel.
Charles first.
No. Councillor Vogel, seconded Councillor Kennedy. Councillor Vogels.
Oh, thank you. I just put my hand up because no one else did, Madam Mayor. This one's...
I really appreciate that.
So my understanding is of this one is to find someone, procure a business that will find people to build a system to run the Warrnambool Shire, the Moyne Shire and the Corangamite Shire, which the crux of it's pretty boring, but the outcome, when it all falls out at the end, will be a pretty cool sort of setup. It'll save us a lot of time and money in IT stuff, and have hopefully, if we get it right, some pretty cool virtual systems coming out the back end of it. We run some good apps and stuff, and at this stage we're just finding someone to do it.
That's basically it. I
That's
think you've said it much more
basically it.
succinctly
Thank
than
you,
Mr Ray did. It's only been said like that in the beginning. Councillor Kennedy, have you got anything to add?
Probably a little bit more formal than what Mr. Rose said, but maybe not necessarily more informative. So what I've said is, and what I'm saying, what I've read, and it was a very, very comprehensive report, Mr. Ray, so I had to read it more than once to get my head around it. So it seems like that we're transitioning to an ERP platform that's going to be shared by Corangamite, Moyne and Warrnambool City, creating a shared service model, and it is a huge project. And I can appreciate the scale and complexity of the project and the necessity for expert advice. I want to congratulate the officers of Corangamite Shire, being the lead partner in this, for their success in securing the $4.5 million under the state government's RCTP to proceed with the planning and preparation phase of the project. Understanding what an ERP is means it is vital that each phase of this project is conducted to the highest standards. The scope of works in the planning and preparation phase is very large and complex, and it is clear the services of a commercial advisor are required. It is a detailed and multi-layered process that has been undertaken, utilising the skills of professionals, and was conducted. Sorry, I've got myself confused now. So the process that was conducted to appoint the commercial advisor was very detailed and multi-layered, and there were a number of professionals that were involved in that process. So this leaves me confident in the evaluation of the tenders received, and I'm more than happy to support the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. Councillor Beard.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor, and I just want to assure our communities out there that there won't be one monster council at the end of the day, where it's Warrnambool City Council, Corangamite, and Moyne, just in case anyone's ever confused. It is all around IT services, and I think at the end of the day, it's all about productivity, efficiency, cost savings, whatever we can do. So when it comes to budget time, we're not all duplicating the exact same programs and services, that we're doing it jointly and collaborative, which at the end of the day saves our ratepayers money and just makes sense. So it's a great project that was announced, that we were fortunate enough to be able to get awarded that $4.5 million, and this is just the start of a huge project that's ahead. And obviously COVID has not helped the situation, because we've had to extend this part of that project to make sure we can get it, still pull it off. But it's great for Corangamite Shire to be the lead, because we really do put ourselves up there for getting things done. So Mr. O, to you and your team, good luck with this next phase. It's very innovative, it's exciting, and I think at the end of the day, I think our communities are everyone's going to benefit from this.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. Councillors, anything further? All in favour? Item 9.6 is contract 2022011, construction of Lake Willameri boat ramp on land works. Ms Love, could you introduce this item, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you, councillors, this report is to award the contract for the on-land works at the Lake Willameri boat ramp. You may recall earlier this year, October, we awarded the contract for the in-water works. This contract is effectively for demolition, removal and disposal of the on-land connections for the boat ramp, the jetties, for underground drainage works, pavement works, curb and channel construction. 3 submissions were received to the tender, and a panel comprising representatives from Better Boating Victoria, South Beach Committee of Management Council and an independent consultant undertook an evaluation in accordance with the procurement policy and specified criteria. And the key points from the evaluation demonstrated that each of the tenderers had capacity and capability to deliver the project on time and within the budget. The panel, however, did recommend award to Otway Civil, and it would be remiss of me not to mention that the project has been a collaboration between the agencies. Better Boating Victoria, the Lake Willameri South Beach Committee, Delp Park, Spic, Eastern Mar and Council, and really is a good testament to the working partnerships. The project will be funded through Better Boating Victoria, and Lake Willameri South Beach will be responsible for the management and project delivery. Councillors, the recommendation is before you.
Thank you, Ms Love. Councillors, would like to move this recommendation? Councillor Hickey. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Cole. Thank you. Councillor Hickey.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, this is a great outcome for a project that's well and truly overdue. Better Boating Victoria needs to be thanked for the contribution of some $240,000 to contribute to this project. It will make launching boats much safer up there. It's with the receding of the lake shores, it's been exposed on numerous occasions, the existing ramp that is, and it's unsafe. So this will allow a lot more access, a lot safer access to the boaties who are using it, and to other recreational users of the lake too. So very, very happy to support this recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Hickey. Councillor Cole.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I fully endorse this motion. I think we're Corangamite's one of the envies of the state with our natural attractions we've got with the lakes and the craters, etc., and looking after them is very important to maintain and increase tourism, and this is one step in the whole thing. So congratulations. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Cole, and I think hopefully with a new boat ramp in place and a successful trial of our ultrasonic devices on the pontoons in the lake would certainly make Lake Willameri a prime tourist destination. So fingers crossed everything falls into place. Councillors, is there anything further on this item? Vote. All in favour? Carried. Item 9.7 is the quick response grants allocation for December 2021. Ms Finley, would you introduce? Oh, sorry, Councillor Macon, I beg your pardon.
That's okay.
You need to leave due to a conflict of interest. Thank you, Mr CEO. Ms Lindley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report is to consider the December allocation of funds as part of the Quick Response Grants program. Applications for this program are considered as they are received and are assessed against criteria including alignment with the council plan, benefit to community and eligible expenditure. The annual budget allocation for the program is $17,500. At the time of writing the report, 3 applications were received. The application from the Lake Bukar Recreation Reserve Committee of Management is withdrawn, and officers will work with the Committee of Management in the new year to identify any priority areas for eligible funding. Madam Mayor, there are now 2 recommendations for funding from the Camperdown Cricket Club for purchase of a mower and the Heytesbury Rebels Cricket Club for cricket balls and a scoreboard.
Thank you, Ms Lindley. Councillor's recommendation there, so I'd like to move that recommendation. Councillor Hickey, do I have a seconder? Councillor Beard, thank you. Councillor Hickey.
Thanks, Mayor. Very, very happy to move the quick response grants, of course. We've seen procurement policies, we've seen complaint policies and integrated software. This is one of the good news stories of the night. So very happy to move it, and well done to the Camperdown Cricket Club and the Heytesbury Rebels Cricket Club for their receiving of the award. And just remind the community that the quick response grant allocation is there for everybody to use. It's just very important that applicants get in before the money is spent, and so we will be able to work with applicants to advise them on how best to make the application. So very happy to support this.
Thanks, Councillor Hickey. Councillor Beard?
Nothing further.
Thank you. All in favour, councillors? Carried. Did someone ask Councillor Macon to come back? Thanks, Mr Plaza. Moving on, councillors, to item 9.8, special charge scheme, installation of footpath on the northern side of High Street, Lismore. And ask Mr Kelly to introduce this item, please. Thanks, Mr Kelly.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. So this report is for council to consider declaration of a special charge scheme for installation of footpath on the northern side of High Street from Brown Street to the Golf Club in Lismore. This path will connect to existing path on High Street east of Brown Street. The total cost of the scheme is just under $59,000 with property owner contribution of just over $14,700. The footpath will have high community benefit with improved access to the Lismore Golf Club to the west and the Lismore Community Health Service and the CBD to the east. Through the consultation process, there's been majority support from the owners, including the South West Healthcare, to the proposal. So with this in mind, it is recommended that the special charge scheme for the new footpath in High Street Lismore be declared.
Thank you, Mr Kelly. Councillors, so I'd like to move that recommendation, please. Councillor Cole, do I have a seconder? Councillor Macon, thank you. Councillor Cole.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is just making better access through Lismore from one end to the other with the golf club at the end and the hospital on the way. So it's a win-win for a lot of people. It makes just getting around town a lot easier and better for them all. So congratulations.
Thanks, Councillor Cole. Councillor Macon?
This is considered to be high community benefit with the footpath constructed, obviously, as it said, from in the High Street to improve access to the golf club and then the community health service. It also supports our council's health and wellbeing plan, providing more access and connectivity through the town and physical health and everything else. So through you, Madam Mayor, I'm quite happy to support this recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Macon. Anything further, councillors? All in favour? Carried. Item 9.9, a special charge scheme, installation of a footpath on the eastern side of Cameron Street, Terang. Mr Kelly.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. So again, this report is for council to consider the declaration of a special charge scheme footpath on the eastern side of Cameron Street from the ambulance station entrance to Neil Avenue. It will connect to the existing path to the north of Cameron Street, which ends at the ambulance station. Total cost of the project is just under $40,000 with a property owner contribution of just under $10,000. It'll have high community benefit with improved safer access to terrain for those in Cameron Street and New Avenue. Through the consultation process, there was full support from the owners in the scheme, including the Terrain Lake Health Service to the proposal. So with that in mind, the recommendation is that the special charge scheme for the footpath extension in Cameron Street terrain be declared.
Thank you, Mr Kelly. Councillors, do I have someone to move special charge scheme? Councillor Kennedy. And a seconder, Councillor Hickey. Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's no argument that footpaths deliver substantial benefit to residents and wider community, and particularly through improved access and connection in our towns. You know, I'm excited for the opportunity for new footpaths in terrain. There's a lot of areas in terrain that really need them very badly. Cameron Street is in a growth area. There are a lot of new homes there. Many of those homes are occupied by families with young children, and I've had multiple requests for footpaths in that area. Cameron Street's also become part of a very high-use walking circuit, and obviously a footpath will deliver a lot of benefit to those people that use that area, and it will greatly increase the safety of walkers who quite frequently walk onto the road because there isn't footpath there. So I'm sure it will be very welcome there, and I'm really pleased that it's supported by the abutting property owners, all of who were in support of the special charge scheme. So certainly support the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. Councillor Hickey.
Thanks, Mayor. Just a couple of points. It is of high community benefit, so that's a big tick. It does fit with the health and welfare plan from the Shire, so very happy to support that too. And there is 25% contribution from the property owners as well. So it's not all council money. Some of the ratepayers are contributing themselves. So yeah, very happy to see this go ahead for the better of the local community.
Thank you, Councillor Hickey, and that's a good point you make, that these are special charge schemes and there is contributing amounts being provided by the abutting landowners. So we thank them for making that contribution to with council funds to have these much needed footpaths. There's nothing further, councillors. I'll put it to a vote. On favour? Carried. Item 9.10, special charge scheme, installation of footpath on the eastern side of Seymour Street in terrain. Mr Kelly.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. So yes, this report's for council to consider the declaration of special charge scheme for footpath eastern side of Seymour Street from Boulevard Street to the Princess Highway. It'll connect with existing paths on Bolivar Street and Princess Highway, where it'll meet up with the current existing school crossing over High Street to Terrain College B4 school. Total cost of the scheme is just over $32,000, with property owners contributing $8,000. Through the consultation process with 8 owners, 4 of those have given support, 2 hadn't supported, and 1 didn't respond. But also further, before you, there's a submission from another owner who raised concerns with the cost apportionment with the scheme, and I'll just highlight that the cost apportionment's based on the frontage of the properties in line with the policy, and also in the instances where there's a property on a corner, we take the lesser of the frontage and size lengths into consideration for that apportionment to that particular owner, and that again it's in line with our policy. So I guess further to that, as I've said, there's certainly high community benefit with this scheme, with improved access to the school on the other side of High Street particularly. So with that, the recommendation is that the special charge scheme for footpath on Seymour Street be declared.
Thank you, Mr Kelly. Councillors, I'd like to move this recommendation. Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Macon. Thank you. Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At the present time, there is no footpath for the whole length of Seymour Street. Similar to Cameron Street, it forms part of that popular walking circuit. Additionally, a footpath would improve access to the golf course, the pool, churches, the lake walking track, as well as a terrain college. There's also a number of new homes built on the west side of Seymour Street, bringing new residents onto this block. So there's no doubt there will be higher community benefit here, and I think also for the abutting owners as well. So I've no hesitation in supporting this recommendation. I think it's going to be a really valuable addition for terrain.
Thank you, Councillor Canady. Councillor Macon.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. I don't have much to add from what Councillor Canady has said. Just again, it supports the health and wellbeing plan, and I think it's great that we're connecting terrain up with all the footpaths and everything else to make it easier for residents and kids alike to get around town. So thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Macon. Councillors, nobody else has anything to raise? All those in favour? Carried. Okay, item 9.11. It's another special charge scheme. This time it's the installation of footpath on north and west sides of Wright Street, Camperdown. Mr. Kelly, you're having a busy evening.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, this, as I said, this report's for Council to consider a special charge scheme for a new footpath on the north and west sides of Wright Street, from Morris Street to Manifold Street in Camperdown. It'll connect with existing paths on Manifold Street and Morris Streets. Total cost of the project or the scheme is just under 64,000, with property owner contribution of 16,000. Through the consultation process, there was a generally favourable response to the proposal. There was one submission objecting to the proposal, which particularly queried the special benefits the owners receive with the scheme and the project. I'll just highlight that the special benefits for the owners are particularly direct access to the footpath, and also improved amenity value to the property. So that's the main features of the special benefits to the owners. There's a high community benefit with this access, with improved access to Sunnyside House and also JC Park, and also safer for those that walk the street, particularly for exercise. So based on this and the general favourable support of owners, it is recommended that the special charge scheme for the footpath in Wright Street be declared.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Someone like to move that motion? Councillor Hickey, do I have a seconder? Councillor Cole. Councillor Hickey.
Thanks, Mayor. I'm very happy to move this recommendation. There's a number of benefits that we've already spoke about, including the high community benefit, the workplace, the health and safety plan from the Shire, the contribution of the property owners. There's been a number of residents in that Wright Street facility, some of whom I meet most mornings for coffee, have suggested it's probably one of the projects that should be going ahead. So there's quite a favourable response from them to this proposal. And currently they're using Wright Street as a walking path, which is somewhat of a dangerous practice. So delighted to see the ladies off the road and onto the street.
Off the road and onto the footpath.
On the footpath. Yes, that's what I meant.
Thank you,
Off the
Councillor
street.
Hickey. Councillor Cole.
Not much further to it. It's been well spoken on all the proposed charges recently. The only thing I notice is there doesn't appear to be many footpaths happening in Darlington.
No, not tonight anyway. Nothing further, councillors. All those in favour? Oh, sorry, councillor.
Sorry, through you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I'd just like to thank, first and foremost, our manager of assets planning, Mr. John Kelly. I mean, we have these meetings out on the side of a road in all the elements with all the property owners, and I want to thank him. It's a lot of effort and work that goes into raising these schemes, and we don't always get them over the line. There would have been a fifth one here tonight if I had been successful in getting one up in Cobden, but we couldn't get all the property owners on board. But it's really important that we acknowledge the work that the officers put into these. I mean, it gets handballed now to our new manager, Peter Rogers, sitting there for the works to be delivered. So it's not very often that we have 4 footpaths in one night get up. So this is exciting for these communities. And as I said, it's something, it's a rarity. And if we could do more and more footpaths, and I think all us councils have agreed throughout our time together, we'd love to do more. But this is certainly a great outcome for tonight to get 4 over the line. So yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge the work that goes into getting these to the table tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Beard. Councillors, we'll put it to a vote. All in favour? That's carried. Councillors, is there any other business that you'd like to raise this evening? No. We'll go on to open forum, and I don't think we have anybody in the gallery who would like to ask a question, and nobody online. Mr. CEO? No. Thank you. I'll call for a motion to suspend standing orders, please. Councillors, Councillor Vogels and Councillor Beard. All those in favour? Terrific, thank you. We're now going to go into a confidential meeting, and before I go, I just wish everybody out there a safe and happy Christmas, and we'll see you again in the new year. Thank you.